Hello everyone, today I want to make a video on euthanasia. So I'm going to talk about euthanasia, why I think it's not legal in most countries or why it's not going to be legal in most countries ever. So first things first, the main thing with euthanasia probably is the fact that, the government or whatever, or the people in in the higher ups, right? They want people here. They want people to exist so they can make more profits. They want people to exist so they can consume um because they could consume more. They want people to exist. I don't mean my bad. They want people to keep existing to benefit off of them, to get money off them, to get tax money off them, get rent, for them to buy their products. They want people to exist to basically benefit from their suffering, I guess you could say, in a way. But yeah, and the reason I think it's not gonna be legalized is because a lot of times with people's lives, they may think that they want to take their life, but they're just in a really bad position. I think that maybe that's one of the reasons possibly that they could be in a really bad position and think they want to take their life, but they don't. I mean, they do at the moment, but later on they might not want to. And that's how I felt myself a few times throughout my life. And I'm not gonna lie though, to be honest, I feel like that like often. Not on no like dark stuff, but I feel like that often in the sense of like, man, like this is hard. Do I really have to keep going on with this? You know? Uh I think a lot of people they go through that phase where they go through a tough time in their life and they're like, I want out, I want out, and them getting out doesn't benefit the higher ups, you know? And I also think of the complications of how it would look to the public. Like imagine how controversial it would be to legalize euthanasia. Can you imagine that? They'd probably be like, "Oh, they want to kill people. I mean, they want to legalize killing people." So, like how much how controversial that'd probably be. That people be like, "Oh, now people can legally get assisted suicide." That's probably what they would probably say, and that how it's bad and wrong and all this other crap, and people shouldn't get that. But but then I also see very few people be like, yeah, it makes sense because people shouldn't have to like go out in such a dignified way or cause extreme self harm to themselves to go out. But yeah, uh, freaking that's why I think it's not legal. I also feel like, hmm, I also feel like in the terms of euthanasia being legalized, I feel like that would mess up. Um, I feel like also it'd be like very costly. I feel like I actually didn't think about this right now, but now it came to mind. I feel like it would also be very costly. So imagine you having to pay so much money just to not be here no more. Like basically like but much more than a feud. Like imagine I'm gonna give it like just a guess. So like imagine euthanasia costs like 10K to 50K, maybe even 100K, right? And because you get the euthanasia, they can't get that money. You can never pay that money back because you're dead. you know. That's how I feel as well. Um, they could probably do that because because it's probably gonna be so expensive that since you never can pay that money back, you're dead. I also imagine the funeral homes too. Imagine them losing money because people are getting euthanasia. Probably another thing too. Uh, but I think they just don't want to make it. They just don't want to make suicide so euthanasia accessible to people. That's all. They don't want it to be accessible because you know um if people have access to it, like they just can have one bad day and they're out of here. And I don't. I think it's kind of fucked up that if people get it right, if it did was legalized, I think it would be fucked up if people got it. But I also would feel sorry for them. But I also would feel like I'd also be like, yeah, it's sad they're dead, but you know, at least they won't suffer here with us, or at least they won't have to healing type of pain again. You know, that's how I would feel. Um, I can understand people would tell people talk people out of it, but I feel like some people, right, especially the older people, right. I feel like also for euthanasia, there should be someone you could talk to, a few people you could talk to, right, and maybe a bunch of papers you sign or whatever, and basically like if you really really have had enough, if you really tried, you can't see yourself getting ahead anymore. If you really tried, if you just don't want to do this anymore, like you should be able to say, yeah, I'm done. Like let me get the euthanasia, and that's it. But that's never gonna happen. You know, and well, yeah, I think that's probably what I have most to say about euthanasia. Like I said, it doesn't benefit people that are higher in higher power. You know, I also feel like I ain't gonna lie. I know this sounds evil to say, but I feel like it would benefit people who are living in the world today because imagine, right? This is gonna be the darker side. I hope this doesn't get this video blocked, right? But imagine if all the people that are, I mean, not all the people, about a few people, right, or some people that are, because I've never heard about. I'm trying to think of it, like how to say it. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how the fuck to explain this guy. Like, I feel like there's very few people in the world, very, very few people in the world, right? Where they're kind of forced to exist, even though they don't want to, you know? And I've think I've seen this only a few times, but they kind of are forced to exist when they don't want to, and they're giving all these pills. They're basically tied down. They're basically martyred all the time. Basically, people in like those mental health, men, is it like mental asylums or whatever? Um, they, where the hell was I going with this? They they do messed up things because of the fact they're forced to be here, if that makes sense. And instead of those doing those fucked up things that could get the euthanasia, and they won't do those things anymore. You know, but whatever, I guess. Yeah, thanks for listening.